Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So arms, right? We were talking about arms. I would like to get in some proportional relationship. You looking at the arm in movement and arm flexed, etc., etc. And let's start with turn the lights on. It's so hot. I waited the last moment to turn them on because it looks like a sauna. Right? All right.
See any?
So if we look at the arm flex, right? You see me like this. I'm gonna do this. So to see the proportion between 1, 2, 3, right? So.
Roberto, we also can't see the video with your face.
Oh, you cannot see the video of my face?
It's not on.
Screen.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. You see it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I see myself. Thank you. So, proportion, right? Proportion. So let's start with the humerus, the length of the humerus, blocking the humerus. I'm going to put a little bit of anatomical detail, but not much, right? So this is the humerus, and I decide my length, how long it is, right here.
But now we don't see your drawing.
You don't see the drawing?
I
Yeah.
do. I see it.
I do. I see it.
Weird.
What did I do wrong? Let me see if it's somewhere else.
Ritva, Irita, you don't see it?
I don't see, I see you, but I don't, well, maybe I did, because I did, let me unpin you, let's see. I see you in the screen, but I don't see anything else. Is everybody else seeing the drawing?
Yes.
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 You may have pinned the speaker video.
But
Yeah.
I just unpinned him, so I did unpin.
At the top of your screen, there should be a view options, a little black box. And if you pull down view options,
Okay,
select side-by-side mode.
got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Found it?
Yeah, now I see
Oh, okay.
Greg and you.
And the Yankees game, right? All right. So so now we got in the head of the humerus like this. Now we see it from the side, so we see the head, the cartilage behind this, right? And this the body developed like this, and at the end, the extremity of the arm kind of thins out like this, and I have the particular portion here with the condyle here. And so now I want to block in the forearm here, right? The forearm is going to be, starting from the ulna, is going to be a little bit shorter than the upper arm, right here, like that, more or less, right? So if the length of the upper arm is 1 3/8, meaning 1 3/8 of a head, the forearm is going to be 1 1/8, and a hand 7/8, right? Meaning we had a decreasing length of the segment of the limb as they move away from the center, right? Now here I'm going to have the radius here, sorry, the radius here, right? And the radius with the hand like this is the forearm is turned, right? So the radius starts all the way from the outside, the radius is going to be here, and then it goes across to the other side, and on this side, well, let me think, like this, and the radius is going to be now here. I'm sorry, the ulna is going to be here. So a little bit confusing start, right? I'm going to redo it quickly. Let's start with the ulna because it's easier. Start with the ulna because it's fixed. The ulna is attached here, right, at this extremity. And here I have that tool. All right, so let's see. This is this way, yeah, perfect. Right, so, no, yeah, I'm sorry. So this is the head of the humerus, so this is the body, and this is the extremity, right? This is the extremity. See how it thins out, and you have here the lateral condyle, and this the the lateral epicondyle and the lateral condyle. The ulna, start with the ulna. See, it attached like a tool. See that really grabbing the articular pace area of the extremity of the humerus, like a tool, right? Very, very tight. So it's here, and now I'm blocking the length of the ulna here, making sure that the length of the ulna is slightly less than the length of the humerus right here. But now, with a hand like this, right? I have the crossbone. See that? Meaning, now I put the radius. I want to put the ulna first, typically, because that only it goes in flexion and extension. It never changes position from inside to outside. Right? It remains always fixed. See how the radius radiates around the axis of the ulna, which is quite fixed, right? So I want to start with this because that's the fixed point, and then I put in the radius, and depending on the position of the hand, I can see if the radius goes across or not. So the radius is always lateral, and start here now, right? Overlapping a little bit the ulna, and it goes on the other side of the ulna here, right? And now it's behind the ulna. Maybe I should color it blue. So this is the radius, right? And this is the ulna, slightly overlapping the radius. And the hand now is going to be here. How long is the hand? Well, the hand is going to be 7/8, meaning if this is 1 1/8, I would say more or less here. So you take also your hand, check out the length. Let me see if I can get it. Check the length of your hand with the appropriate tool, right? So the hand, and then once you take this measurement here, I put in relation to the forearm, and look what it gets, right? It's, I mean, close to the elbow here, right? So estimation here, I would say here, so that the length of the hand is going to be this, right? Instead of here, I'm going to draw it here. Like this. So, you know, we imagine this kind of correspondences here, right? And now the thumb is going to be on the other side here, right? And then, and here, raise on here, and we have that progressive shortening of the forms of the forearm, right? So let's try to put some muscles over here, right? So we create we start from the skeleton, which in this case can be summarized like this: humerus, right? Ulna with the olecranon here, and radius across, going over the ulna, right? So they're kind of crossing over each other, right? And in hand, right? So let's block in the general volumes of these muscles, right? And then try to draw them organically, so we can go over the origin and insertion of the various muscles and the torsion of the muscle, etc. So I'm going to start blocking in a cylinder, right? And I also block in the deltoid here, right? The top of the deltoid, and then of course the back is going to be here. The clavicle is going to be somewhere here, right? The collarbone is going to be here. The pectoral is going to be here. So once I have established the length of the upper arm here, then I can imagine how is this, what is the length of this, right? And you know, just a little bit below the main volume of the head of the head of the humerus, and then I can block in now a.
I have tough time seeing the blue. Do other people see it properly?
Yeah, no, it's very light. I'm going to darken it now. I'm going to darken it now. Let me make it. I'm going to make it darken. I want to kind of start with the various structural aspects. Do you see it now a little bit better?
Yes.
Because then I'm going to go over it with the red, right? So draw in different phases, right? So now the hand, we have seen the hand could be this length, and I want to make sure that the length of the hand is in the right proportion with the forearm, right? Like that. So now I have this very structural definition of the form, and this is just basically at this point I only have the volume, right? The length and the angles. So volume, length, and angles. Actually, start with length. Volumes and angles, the angles of the volumes and in relation to each other, right? So now here, you got it, right? So now we can block in a little bit more detail. I'm gonna use a different color, right? Maybe this nice burnt sienna. So I posted this drawing of an arm on Reddit, right? And I got like 25,000 views and stuff like that, right? But then there was this, and I had no idea. I'm starting experimenting with this guy, little social media. And lots of people liked it, right? But a few kids, they said, oh, no, that's too long. That's too long. It looks long, and the objection based on their arm, right? Yeah, because I have an arm, and my arm is different. I say, yeah, everybody has a different arm, right? So these are typical proposals. Yeah, but no, but my arm is, look at my arm. This other guy, look in his gym. He was in the gym. Look at my arm, right? So, all right. And then they started fighting with each other. And at that point, it was not about my arm anymore. My arm was just an excuse, right? You're stupid. No, you were stupid. I said, oh, okay. It's incredible how people can get upset. Next time I draw a cube, I'm sure they're gonna have a fight about a cube. So it's strange dynamics for me. I'm just becoming acquainted with this thing. So now we look at the length from here to here, and the end of the arm, and the deltoid inserts halfway down the length of the upper arm here, starting from basically the spine of the scapula, the coracoid process, and the clavicle, and it goes over the head of the humerus, which is about here, right? And then the deltoid goes down halfway down the length of the humerus. So once I get the total length of the upper arm, then I find the midpoint, and then from here I block in maybe first anteriorly the anterior margin of the deltoid, which we had seen last time we did this. It's from the front a little bit straighter, right? A little bit straighter. And from the back, he said, because it starts from the spinal scapula, and the scapula is here, it moves back diagonally. So it starts from further out compared to the front. So this is going to be the back portion of the deltoid. They come down at the midpoint here, and that is the deltoid. Now, we can also block in the deltoid in the subdivided in segment, right? So we're going to have the posterior segment here. It's going to be semi-schematic, huh? The lateral segment here and the anterior segment here. So now this segment, we could put a little bit of shading here, right? A little bit of shading. And I see that this is the anterior segment. There is another segment that's behind the curve. We don't see it, but that's still part of the anterior segment. It's the lateral segment, right? and then the posterior segment. So from above the spine of the scapula here, I'm going to have the trapezius starting and going up to the neck, right? So that's the deltoid. Now, anteriorly here, I'm going to have coming from under here, this portion of the deltoid. When the deltoid comes, well, once I have established the margin of the arm, right, then automatically I know when these two come in contact, right? When the anterior margin of the deltoid and the bicep come in contact, and the bicep now is moving under the deltoid because it goes under the deltoid and under the pectoralis, right? And then I can block in now the posterior margin with the tricep. So the tricep is going to have a swelling in this upper half, let's say more or less the upper half of this segment in here, right? And it can block in a little bit of a swelling in the tricep, and then it comes in right here like this, because then it fades out, and this portion in here is going to be flat because that is the tendon of the tricep, right? That's the tendon of the tricep. So now this portion, we can give it a little bit of volume if you want, right? Like we did last week, remember we did the cross contour section. That is always very useful because it teaches you to always consider the volumetric aspect of your form, but also practice drawing. It's like practice drawing precise, even lines. Now, in this anterior portion in here, I have just below the deltoid here, the brachialis coming down like this, right? And to the front of that, I'm going to have the bicep like this. So the brachialis will move forward toward the anterior face of the arm, and the tricep will move back posterior toward the olecranon here, about at the lower third of the total length of the arm. So this lower third here, this lower segment, is where the brachyradialis here will kind of stems out, goes toward the forearm to the radius. So you're going to wrap around the arm like this and goes to the radius, and I don't see it, right? So here, at this level here, I have the olecranon, right? Here, this is the olecranon, the bump of the olecranon here. And I want to find out the little bump of the head of the ulna, because then from the olecranon to the ulna, I can extrapolate the line, you know, the line of the ulna, right? The line of the ulna here that divides the forearm into parts. The anterior part or the palmar side is where the flexors are. The dorsal side, or the part of the back of the hand, is where the extensor are, right? And this bone in here divides the forearm in these two segments. Right? So now here I have the volume of the muscle of the forearm that maybe we're gonna see them later. I'm gonna do another drawing. And at this about, so there's a swelling here because the arm muscle here, right? Arm muscle in here. And then there's a little bit of a bump in here, which is the lateral epicondyle, right? The little bone that we fit in here, the lateral epicondyle, right? So then the back of the hand, when you draw the back of the hand, we want to notice that there is like a little bit of a step here, right? A step here, which is basically the radius and ulna, right? At the wrist. But then this portion here has a slight bump that we see in here. This slight bump in here, very close to the wrist, is the carpal bone, is the carpus. Past this bump in here, let me see. Hey. Okay. It's the same hand, right? But in a drawing. I stay like that for a day, like that. Wow, wow, that hurts. This was tough. I kept moving it. I know. So, all right. So we see that. See this bump in here, very close, and then there's another bump in here, right? That. Let me see if I can see it. Right. There's a little bump in here again, and that is basically the carpus. This is the beginning. That's the end of the carpus. From this bump in here, and you can really feel on top of the back of the hand a little bit of a. It's hard, right? It's a little hard, right? When that bump stops, you have another length in here that goes all the way to the knuckle, right? And that is, of course, the metacarpus, right? So now we're gonna have here this little bump, right, with the thickening of the back of the hand here, and then the bone of the metacarpus, and then the knuckle here like this. When we draw this, we can also think in terms of the various eminences, but also the gradual thinning of the back of the hand, the hand here, the main body of the hand, and see the tapering, see that, and also the shortening of the segment of the hand. Meaning, if I establish the length of the fingers here, I want to make sure that in terms of proportions, right, what I see here, this length that I see here, is proportionally properly in relation to the length of the palm, right? And that might change on the point of view. So you simply measure what you see, right? And then, of course, the palm coming out and the thumb coming out like this, right? So now I have, these are kind of the main volume, right? The main volume, the forearm, I can block them like this, right? In a studio situation, I block them like this, and then eventually I look specifically at the model and see all those nice little variation that I cannot really come up with, because most of this variation or specific, thickness or width, etc., are going to be individual. So, I look at them in the model, but this structurally will give you a very good beginning. So you got to be, in terms of proportion, in terms of length, it will not look like when you look at the model, like the upper arm is longer than the forearm because of this. So this kind of is a in-between shape that is not really clear where the arm begins, right? But the arm begins from here, from the head of the humerus. So in reality, when I want to measure the length of the arm, I want to start from the top of the shoulder here, because that's where just under the round volume here of the shoulder or the deltoid, that's where the head of the humerus is going to be. So that's the measurement, and that clearly is longer than this measurement here, right? So let's look now at another pose where we see the torsion of the muscle of the forearm, right?
Roberto, can I just get clarity on something?
Yeah.
When in that pose, the extensors are on the top of the arm?
Yes. Because the extensors are on the back, right? Because they extend the hand. So they're always connected with the back of the hand. So all of these, they follow. When the hand turns, they follow the hand, right? They follow the hand. So they're going to be extensor on top. These below here on the palm side are the flexors.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Flexors and extensors, right? So it's really useful to subdivide the muscle in their function, right? Flexor, extensor, and then brachyradialis, which is a flexor but of the forearm and not of hand and fingers as these are, right? These are flexor and extensor of hands and fingers, right? Okay, so okay, let's do it again, but this time we make it 90 degree, bent 90 degree, right? And we can start again with the same idea of starting with the cylinder, right? The cylinder. I'm gonna make it a little bit more visible so guys you can. But I'm using different colors, but again, you can use the same color, but use it lighter when you do the searching line, when you do the structural line, right? So this is the upper arm, right? And then I want to make sure that now when I put the forearm here, right here, this length in here, right, is correct in terms of proportion in relation to the upper arm, right? So upper arm, forearm, and hand, right? So let's go back now to try to be a little bit more organic, right? So remember, the head of the humerus is here. The head of the humerus will impart its own volume to the deltoid, making it rounded, at the top of the shoulder rounded, right? And I know that the deltoid ends up halfway down the length, the total length of the upper arm, the humerus, right? And it kind of also, if I want to be slightly more organic, it's kind of diagonal. This line here is more diagonal than this line here, because remember, this line here is straighter. It goes, wraps around like this, right? Around the head of the humerus. But this portion goes to the scapula, so it goes back. So that's the spine of the scapula. When I think the spine of the scapula here, where the deltoid attaches, is eventually going over the head of the humerus, and that's the acromion, right? So the spine of the scapula, I'm gonna make it in blue. So this is the scapula, right? And this is the spinal scapula, this upper triangle. This is the spinal scapula, it goes over the head of the humerus here, like this, right? And then move back like that. And here I have the clavicle connecting with this, and we move forward. So I'm gonna lose it here, I'm gonna lose it. So now the deltoid will go here, from here to the midpoint here, right? And then this volume here is, this is the lateral volume, this is the posterior, this is the lateral, and then this is a little bit of the interior. And then I kind of try to shape the deltoid a little bit more organically. So maybe we could start blocking in some volumes right here like this, and maybe all of this is going to be the posterior volume. So I'm going to imagine the light moving away, right? And here is the passage from the posterior to the lateral. And then all this, the deltoid, when it's on a lean person, and it kind of in action, you're going to see all those beautiful little fascicles, right, that kind of converge toward this point in here. But most likely, you know, it's really difficult to see the individual segments popping up, because right, the little bit of fat will tend to soften them up. That's the deltoid, right? And then now we can block into the front here, the bicep, right? And starting about at the halfway, the width of the upper arm, I come down with a line like this, moving toward the front, right? And that would be the brachialis. This is the brachialis, right? And this is the bicep. Posteriorly, I have the tricep here, but I see the tricep here, but don't go all the way to the margin of the tricep, because most likely you're going to see on the side here the long head of the tricep. So this is the lateral head of the tricep that goes here, goes up under the deltoid to the base of the head of the humerus and develops as a form like this, right? But the long head will go to the scapula. So it has a little bit of a change in direction of the head of the tricep going toward the scapula. Remember, we did that schematic view last week we did it, yeah. With the long head of the tricep goes in between the teres major and teres minor to the scapula, while the other two heads, lateral medial, they go to the humerus. So now I see a little bit of this, right, which is on the inside, the medial side, and I see this, the big volume of the tricep up here that occupies the upper half of this portion of the arm, right? And from here, I have a thinning of the muscle fibers that will converge down to here, the olecranon, right? So that's the bumpy here is the olecranon. This is the olecranon. And just above the olecranon here, I have the lateral epicondyle, right? So that's the olecranon, right? That's the olecranon. And just above it is the lateral epicondyle here. So this one I see in the model. This one is very visible, right? But this one is also visible, a little bit more subtle, because it's this bone here on the side here, right? And just in front of it, I had the swelling of the muscle, right? So that's the olecranon. And here, there's a little bump in here. See if I push it, you're gonna see that. Oh, wow. Big storm here, guys, suddenly. Could you wait a second? I'm gonna close the bedroom window, sorry. Sorry, guys. Sorry, it's just, it's so bad all of a sudden. All right. Okay, so now we feel this, right? We feel this bump in here. And from here forward, all the muscle of the extensor develop here, right? The muscles of the flexor will develop under here, right? Extensors and flexors under here. So let's see. Now here I have the, as I was saying before, the main volume of the tricep, the lateral head, the tendon of the tricep will go down like this toward the olecranon. And this portion here thins out. And this is a portion of the lateral head. But then remember, the really last tip here is going to be the medial head that comes across, that is under the lateral head. So here I would have the tendon, I'm gonna make it blue, the tendon developing, going to the olecranon, and in between, now I want to find, starting from the olecranon, I want to find the head of the ulna, whatever that might be, and then I have here now the head of the ulna connecting these two. And that will give me the separation between the extensor and the flexors. Right? This portion here with the arm like this will tend to have a clear, division with a certain volume, because that torso somehow compresses the two group of muscle at the margin of the ulna, and they become clearly distinct. So this would be like the watershed of between flexor and extensor, right? Now, I put the little olecranon here, right? And what I can do from here, I know that the extensor began right in front of that, right? So I'm blocking the extensor here, coming out like this, leaving some space here, which is where I'm going to put the brachioradialis and extensor carpadialis longus and brevis. So this is the main group of the extensors, right? Which kind of wrap, right? They wrap around the arm. See that? They twist a little bit, they twist gently. So this is going to be now the main volume of the extensors here. So this one here is extensor digiti, extensor digiti minimi, and then extensor of the carpus from the ulnar side. So extensor carpi ulnaris, right? Okay, so now all of this is the volume of these muscles here together. We pack them together, right? Maybe later we're going to try to subdivide them a little bit, right? Is it raining there, guys? No?
Not here.
Right, suddenly started pouring. It's just
Not in Exton.
Well, I'm up in Massachusetts, and we had a horrendous storm this afternoon. Two of them come through.
This must be it. We had one yesterday too. It was just vicious, lots of branches broken. And,
Yeah.
but it's so hot during the day. Of course, it builds up this heat and its temperature changes. All
I
right.
grew up in Philly, and I feel like I'm back home.
So you see how so we can, as a way to remember the muscle, the upper arm. Once you divide the upper arm like this, right? Half of it is for the deltoid. Divide it in half. To the front, bicep and brachialis. To the back, tricep. And that's it, right? So you kind of get area of competence with various muscles. And then, of course, the tricep is going to be modeled later on, etc. The brachialis is going to be curved, but you assign an anterior and a posterior, and then you subdivide again the anterior into two and the posterior into various segments with the egg-shaped portion, the claw portion, and the tendon portion, etc., etc. Okay, so okay, so now let's block in here the volume of the extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, and on top of these two, brachioradialis. So this muscle here, this group of muscle here, is going to be somehow different from this group of muscle here, because this muscle in here are going to be the muscle that start from the lateral epicondyle. So they start right in front of it here. But this muscle in here start from the humerus of the side. I mean, this is also the humerus, but start from the side of the humerus, right? Which is here. So this blade of bone here, from here down to here, is where the extensor carpi radialis, longus, and brevis, and brachioradialis begin. The other muscle we have seen now, this extensor digiti, digimini, ulnari, they start from here. So, and these are directed, the muscle of the ECRB, ECRL, and brachioradialis are directed here. They go down like that, right? Diagonally like that. This muscle in here is that of the extensor of the finger, they go down straight like this. So remember, I'm going to draw a quick schematic view, seen from behind. This should help you remember all these formulas here, right? So the hand is seen like this, right? From behind, like that. And this is the arm is seen from behind. You hear the thundering? It's just scary. That's the electron now. So this muscle in here do this as a form, right? As a form. This muscle in here of the finger instead do this. They go down straight like that, right? So let's color them so we kind of get this more clear, right? And these instead they go down straight. Right? So, and then of course, we're going to have the muscle of the, because now here, the ulnar is going to be visible here, right? And you're going to visible, little bit visible, the muscle of the flexors, which are on the other side of the ulnar, which is now this red line. So this is the muscle of the ulnar, the flexors, right? Like that. So now, when I flex the hand like this, you see the hand turns, all the group of muscle will wrap around the arm, right? The axis of the arm, because they have to go on the side of the thumb. So this I'm going to have here, the big volume here, with this muscle in here, this volume here is created because they start from the side. Now the side of the radius here, right? And then they develop like this, and from here they go to this area here. They go to the first, to the second, to the carpus. Let's say to the carpus on the side of the index. But then the brachioradialis start, and I'm going to color it something else. The brachioradialis start here, right? And it's thin. At this point, the brachioradialis is thin. And it goes over the external carpi radialis longus and brevis here, right? Because it has to go on the radius, on this side here, the hidden side is on the other side. It goes to the side of the thumb. So now I have this beautiful twisting, right, of the various muscular groups, where they go one, the torsion is much bigger here because this has to go all the way to the other side, to the thumb. This goes to the back of the hand, close to the thumb, and this goes straight to the middle. So the level of kind of turning right here is going to be gradually straightening, straightening, and straightening, right? Then here, this is going to be the ulna right here. And between the ulna and the lateral epicondyle, there's a triangle. This muscle is called anconeus. Anconeus muscle, right? And below here, past the line, the red line, actually, let's make it dark red here. Past this dark red line here is the ulna, right? So this is going to be all the flexors. Then we can block in a little bump of the carpus, the fingers. And when I do this, right, I want to keep going with the progressive shortening of the segment of the hand. Let me see one thing. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So the palm here is going to have a certain length. This is going to have a certain length, okay, which is, you know, equal to the sum of this length and this length in here, right? So in some cases, I now have 1, 2, 3, but then I can block in also the other fingers here, right? 1, 2, 3, right here. And then of course the thumb, but the thumb I can have it on the other side, just barely visible. Okay, so now in this case in here, I also going to have the segment here in decreasing length as they move away from the center, right? As they move away from the point of origin of the distal of the appendicular skeleton. Okay, so is this twisting clear? Does it help to explain a little bit how?
One question, what is that blue? Is it exterior digiti?
Okay, so I'm going to subdivide this. Right? I'm going to subdivide it because this is the block, right? It's a good question, Rita, good question. So now I'm going to have here extensor of the fingers. And this goes to the back of the hand because it's this tendon here. It's this tendon here that makes all these tendon, right? So this is right here in the middle, right? Right here in the middle. So extensor digiti, 1, right? Digiti comuni. And then next to it here, the thin muscle, extensor digiti minimi. So this is the extensor of the pinky. The pinky has 2 tendons. One that comes from the communis, digiti communis, the common extensor, which is 1. And then it has its own muscle that extends the pinky, probably because, so for the thumb is the same thing. The thumb has also, I think, 4 dedicated muscles for abduction and extension. Abductor and extensor longus and brevis. So there are 4 muscles. Because the thumb has a great mobility, so it needs to really move a lot in different positions, except plus the muscle that flex inside here, then oppose. But the muscle that extend and abduct here, the thumb has 4. And the pinky here has 2, right? 2 muscles that extend the pinky. One that comes from the communis in here, and one that is its own dedicated, right? Probably because the pinky, being at the extremity, needs more mobility maybe than these other fingers in here that are in the center and are more brute force, right? So this one here needs probably more range than the other finger. In fact, it does have a little bit more range than the other finger, right? So it's got 210. Same thing for the index, actually. The index has also a dedicated extensor, but we're not going to see it from here because it's covered. Next to extensor digiti minimi, I have the extensor carpi ulnare, which is this muscle here, right? It goes to the ulna. And under that, under the tendon that, we have the head of the ulna. Now, here, that, we feel the bone. I'm gonna make it black. We feel the bone here, right? This is all the bone. It gradually emerges right here. And as we move back to the elbow, this muscle here kind of go over a little bit the bone in the sense they develop, and the bone ends up being in a depression here, right? But this is the volume of the flexor, and this is the volume of the extensor of the ulna, and it ends up being in this kind of depression here, right? So now, this is going to be the tendon of the flexor. This is the volume of the flexor, right? And these develop under, so we leave it alone. This is the anconeus. It's a triangular muscle just that frames the olecranon here, right? And it extends and stabilizes the forearm. So it's for the forearm and not for the hand. Like all of these are for hands and fingers. All of these are for hands and fingers. All of these are for hands and fingers, but not this one and not this one. This is for flexing the arm, the forearm, and this is for extending and stabilizing. So basically, these muscles in here that extend fingers and hand are sandwiched between two muscles in here that are not extending hands and fingers, right? So, but overall, what I would like you to remember is, let's see if we can synthesize this, right? What to remember is, we've got to remember this, right? So let's see if we can make it simple. No, simple, essential, right? Upper arm, forearm with that conical shape like this. Then I find the olecranon, find the head of the ulna, and then merge them, right? So now I have here a group of muscle that are the extensors. Here, a group of muscle that are the flexors, that's under the ulna, right? And here, a group of muscle that are also extensors, and you go over this other muscle here, plus the brachioradialis, right? And then the anconeus. But overall, you can't forget the anconeus. You can't forget the anconeus. But overall, you would have one here, right? Extensors, flexors, and then extensor carpio radialis longus and brevis plus brachioradialis, right? But I lump them in a different group rather according to using the form as a parameter rather than the function, because it's the form that I'm after, right? So in this case here, because as artists we are interested in the change of the form, I want to think what's happening here, what kind of form is produced in here by this muscle that come together. When what muscle are coming together and what muscle are separated. These are coming together and they go this way, These come together and go around that way, right? So it's more aesthetic, you know. It's more aesthetic. It's an analysis based on dominant forms or volume, right? Any question about this?
Sorry, this might be just random, but the tricep has 3 heads. I'm kind of confused. Are the 3 heads of the tricep under the deltoid, or are they down at the elbow?
Let's go over that again, right? Because the tricep is confusing. So let's go over that again. Right? We're going to show you from the back. All right. Head of the humerus, right? And I block this as a very, very schematic metallic thing, right? So then we can also see the deltoid again from the back, because I think now all these things come back to roost, right? So we had to figure them out. Say, oh, okay, I now understand it, right? So the length of the scapula is about halfway the length of the humerus, maybe a little bit more. And then the spine of the scapula will start at the same level at the center of the head of the humerus, meaning from here I go up above the head of the humerus here, and that's the spine of the scapula. And now this is the articular face, the glenoid fossa, right? And this is the scapula, right? And this is the upper triangle of the scapula. So in here, if we want to be a little more specific, I'm going to find the swelling at the top here, with the head of the next to the head of the humerus, and then in narrowing the form here, and then widening up again at the center, and then going out like this on a very gradual movement outside like this, right? And from here, coming down in sharper passes the medial epicondyle, and here, the olecranon and the ulna. We need the olecranon. We don't need the radius, but we can block in here. The radius is going to be here, because the tricep, the tendon tricep will go down here. So let's look at the head of the tricep, right? The 3 heads. So the medial head starts from here, just below the head of the humerus here, and it goes across the body of the radius, and then you move back in toward the olecranon. And then down here like this, right? So all of this, and now we can kind of soften up the muscle, because, sorry, the bone, because it's going to be under the muscle, right? So this is the medial head. I'm gonna color it all just to give it some body, but not too much, because I will have to do some overlapping with the other muscle. So I don't want this to be too visible. And of course, now here I have the tendon of this muscle in here. It goes to the olecranon here, right? Now we block in the lateral head. Of the tricep. So the lateral head starts from the lateral side, just below the head of the humerus here, right? Goes over, now it goes over the medial head. I think we'll make it darker color so the division is more clear right here. And this muscle will have that kind of swelling up here, right? And then goes now gradually narrowing, and it developed its own tendon. And now this tendon is going to go over the muscle, the medial head here, and connect with the tendon of the medial head. And now it's over that, right? So the medial head, I'm going to see it here, a little bit here. Because it's covered, the rest is covered, right? So I'm going to use different colors, right? So let's use the blue color. Actually, let's use this color here. Like the magenta red for the lateral head. And then I need to get this more orangey. Right, so this is now belongs to the medial head, right? So now we have the long head. The long head starts from the scapula, start from here. So this is the glenoid fossa. The glenoid fossa is the articular face of the scapula. And it starts from here, right, this area here. And then it goes down like this to connect with the, right, that contiguous to the long head, to the lateral head, right? I just had to color it differently, right? I'm gonna make it blue. So we're gonna make this blue, right? So here, it's a big muscle, and it is somehow, sometimes it's kind of, you see two separate segments here and here, right? So this one is the segment that comes directly from the scapula, and then this develops its own form below that. So I'm going to erase the rest of the medial head because it's hidden. And this is the long head of the tricep. Together, the tendons move down. All these tendons merge. I'm going to draw the tendons in black. All the tendons of this muscle here merge. And now I have a little bit what is left of the medial head here. And the rest is long and lateral. I'm going to erase it to make it a little bit more clear. Okay. So they go up to the olecranon, and that's the tricep, right? That's the tricep. So when we block in the teres muscle, we're going to have the teres major from this corner here going under the tendon of the long head of the tricep. And goes to the front, to the humerus, to the front of the humerus here. it's a teres major, right? Teres major, visible muscle, right? Teres major. I'm gonna show you a drawing later, which just shows the back, so you kind of summarize it, right? The teres, now, let's block in the infraspinatus first. The infraspinatus is occupying most of the back of the scapula here like this, right? And it goes to the top of the head of the humerus. And now, sandwich between the teres major and the infraspinatus, there is the teres minor, which is going to be here. And that goes over, covers now the tendon of the, covers the tendon of the long head of the tricep that goes in between those two muscles. So it's a little bit tricky, right?
I lost, where is teres minor?
This one,
That's teres minor, okay.
yeah. This is the teres minor. It, poor thing, is sandwiching between the major, teres major and infraspinatus, right? But you see now how that creates a little bit of a tunnel, the passage, where the long head of the tricep is going through, right? So let me see if I can find it. I have a drawing of the back. I'm going to show you the muscles. Sorry, in the other room. I'll be back in a minute, in a second. All right, so here we are. So this is Daro. Let's see. Okay, so with the arm leg, they kind of flex like this. Right? So you see how this here is the long head of the tricep. And the long head of the tricep sometimes has a kind of division to separate, not a portion to separate like that. And that tendon goes toward inside, so toward the head to the scapula. This is the lateral head. This is the medial head. And the deltoid goes over it like this, covering, wrapping around the volume of the muscle. Now, Daro has strong muscle. You guys ever work with Daro, the model? No? Anyway, he's a very handsome young man, and he has this very developed muscle. Even here, when you normally don't see the deltoid developing here. The deltoid kind of, you see it up to here in the model, typically, and you don't see this fascicle here because we don't use that much to lift the arm back. But in the case of Daro, this is visible all the way to, and you see how it's directed toward the corner of the scapula. Right?
You say Daro?
Daro, yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with him, yep.
Yeah, Daro, I haven't seen it in a while now at PAFA, but sometimes he teaches in maybe his works and yeah, he's an excellent model, and the muscle very, very visible. So so what would I say? So this is the teres major, right? And that's the teres minor. Sometimes it's thicker, sometimes it's thinner, but it's kind of squeezed in between the teres major and the infraspinatus. The infraspinatus occupies most of the scapula, but the teres major is basically at the corner of the clavicle of the scapula. You see the corner of the scapula below that, and it's this bump that kind of tells you that you are at the end of the scapula. That's the end of the scapula, and below that you have the serratus and then the rib cage, right? So let's see if I have another view for that. Well, that's the same, right? So it doesn't make a difference, right? So any questions for this, guys? No. All right, good. So let's try now to build a. I would like to bank on this idea of the main volumes, right? The big volumes and the dominant volumes, and then start from the skeleton and build up from there, right? So let's try to create a sequence that include also the hand bend, etc., right? And then I would like to do something on the hand, show you something about the hand, right? How to draw the hands, etc. So
Yeah, can you show the pictures? I'll take a picture of that, what you just draw, because
you want a picture of this?
yeah, because it's better looking than mine.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You have a picture of the other one too? Daro? You have a picture of this? What is it? So this one brings together the, wait, I'm going to, so you don't have the red dot. All right. This brings together the internal form and external form. That's the idea behind this illustration. Let me know when you're done.
I got it.
Okay, so now let's try to get the movement. All right, so movement of the arm, but first I want to build up a little bit of a sequence. So I want to have a sequence, right? Okay, so I think that this idea of the volumes, of the dominant volumes, is something we want to bank on, right? So let's start doing this. Arm, start with the humerus. Like this, right? And then...
Are we doing the same view?
No, it's a different view.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a different drawing. It's a different drawing. No, I want to go back to this. I want to go back to this, but from a different angle. The idea of this dominant volume and how to read, actually I'm gonna start with the drawing. How to read the form of the arm, focusing only on this dominant volume, right? Okay, so upper arm, start with the arm. And then later we do one with the skeleton. And then attach to the arm. So now it's going to be a flexed arm, right? With a hand in pronation here. And I block in the volume of the forearm. Just the wrist. And then the hand is going to be coming down like this here. Not like that, right? So this is the pectoralis and this is the deltoid, right? Now I block in this forming here, right, first. Copying the model, right, without wasting too much time going after the organic form. I just need to block this in quickly, right, really quickly, because what I'm looking again, I'm looking at the length of the various segments, the volume, right? The volume and the angles they are at. If I put the pencil in here, then I visualize I visualize the horizontal line and I see this triangle, right? I see this triangle, and that helps me in seeing how this is angled, right? So when you want to visualize an angle, always use horizontal or vertical lines, and you're going to see this triangle pattern, right? So you can copy the same pattern you're drawing. Now from here, I'm thinking, okay, the pectoral is going to be here, right? The delta is going to wrap around the arm here, and then the bicep is going to come out from under the pectoralis, so it's going to be here. It's the bicep, and then of course you're going to go to the brachialis under that here, right? And the tricep is going to be back here. You're going to see a little bit, and actually you would see different muscle here, different head, but let's leave it alone. We don't need that much. Now, at this point in here, I have here the medial epicondyl, you know, the bump of the bone that is on the inside here, right? This, right? So I feel it. We see that. That's easy to see and feel. Right? So we block that, and then I'm thinking, okay, now I would have from the other side here, because this group of muscle start from the outside, right? From the lateral side, and then goes to the radius, right? So in this case here, this group of muscle will start from here, right? And then it goes to the radius here. So it will go down like that. So that is brachioradialis, right? Extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis. Under here, I had the extensor of the fingers, right? These. Okay. But they come from behind. I don't see the whole torsion, but they come out from here. So now they go down to the back of the hand, to the tendon, like that. So now here, at this point in here, I have here the flexors, because the brachioradialis is the division, the muscle that divides the extensors from the flexors. So the extensors and the flexor are going to be delimited on one side by the ulna, on the other side by the brachioradialis. See, it's right in between the two of them, right? Right. Now I have this area of competence, let's say, for all this muscle, and these are the flexors, right? This helped me in kind of navigating all of this kind of complex set of forms, right? So now, if I want to also consider another thing. I want to consider that if I want to understand, and maybe we've done it already, but I would like to go over it again. If I want to understand properly the movement of these muscles in here, right? I want to consider the skeleton. Start from the skeleton. It's going to make it easier. So similar position, but with the hand in supination, and then we see what happens when we go in pronation, right? I start with blocking the humerus, right? Blocking the humerus, and then from here I block in the joint, and from here I have coming out like this the ulna. I also block in the ulna first. It's easier. The ulna is an axis in continuation with the axis of that, and the radius with the hand in supination by the arm flexed. So this is the inside, right? Medial, and this is the lateral, right? The outside. The radius starts from here, right? Also, always from the outside. With the hand in supination, the bones are parallel. Right here. And the hand now is soup, right? Hand is up, the soup is not spilling. The hand is up like that, right? And parallel. If I then instead turn from here, I turn the hand. What I want to do this. I want to block in. First, always the humerus, then always the ulna, right? Starting point of humerus, always lateral, but now when the hand goes in pronation, the bones cross, because now the thumb is outside and now is inside. So the thumb is on the side of the radius. Therefore, when the radius is inside in relation to the body, the bones are crossed. Radius and ulna are crossed. Now I have here this, right? And that's the hand that we had here. So from here, I could now block in this volume, right? This volume here, right? And then the lower volume. Makes sense? But I messed it up a little bit, sorry. If you want to take a picture. Right. So actually, you know what you do? Take a picture of this. It's clearer, because I've been studying this for a while now. So that's the same thing, right? Let me close it. With a little extra step, right? But then this is the hand in supination, and that's the hand in pronation. And that's how you block in the volume, meaning understanding that the brachioradialis follows the radius. It's a great thing. It's a great advantage, because think of this, before this turns, right? With a hand like this, right? I have the volume of the humerus like this, right? The upper arm like this. The hand now is in supination like that. So now the brachioradialis goes here because the hand is up, palms up, right? So now this volume here goes to the fingers right here, and this volume here goes to the side. So this is the brachioradialis, and this is the flexors. But this now goes to the side of the hand. Now we see that this muscle is not going across, right? It's not going across. 10 minutes.
Pizza. Tomato sauce, 5 minutes.
10.
10. Cheese, 10.
I made the pizza dough, and now the kids had to figure out how to cook it. See what happened, right? Last time they burned my dinner. They ate there and they left the thing on the stove, and when it was done, it was all burnt. But they ate, right? Okay, so now makes sense. So now as this turns, this follows the radius, right? And then we have now this volume crossing. We did this from the front view with the arm extended, going like that. But the same thing is valid for the flex view, right? So I'm thinking I want to do another one of the arm on a slightly different position, and then I would like to get a couple of hands, draw a couple of hands, right? Actually, let's do a sequence. If I synthesize here, let me see. Let's do a sequence for building the arm from the back, and then we can do What time is it? 7:30. Oh, we still have an hour and a half. That's fine. A lot of stuff in an hour and a half. Greg, how much money has Pafa? A lot?
Well, my paycheck clears every week. That's all I'm hoping for. So.
All right, that's not bad because I found this castle in Italy that we could buy for $200,000, restore it, but the restoration is going to be expensive, right? And then we could have Pafa in Italy, right? They have Florence Academy. They have it in, so we could have this nice, beautiful castle. I'm going to show you a picture of it.
That sounds good. That sounds good to me.
It was made in 1850 by this count, right? That invented what is called electromyopathy, and he was zapping rich people, and he got so rich, right? He was a count, right? So it turns out that all the kings and queens of Europe go to see this guy in the middle of the hills of the Apennines around Bologna. And the Tsar of Russia was going there regularly. Ludwig of Bavaria used to go there. And I just was blown away because I used to go fishing there as a kid, right? This castle. So now this castle has all these other smaller buildings, which is not smaller, I mean, a big, but one is in disrepair. And it's so funky, and it's so beautiful, but it's abandoned. And we could buy it, Greg, we could buy it. And
Well, maybe you and I can buy it and go into business.
Let's do it. I'm in.
You're in? All right. Let's pitch it. So 200,000 to buy it, but then the restoration, it's going to be expensive, right?
Yeah.
So we got to figure that out. So I'll keep you posted. I'll show you a picture of this castle, or I'll send you the link so you can see it yourself. Actually, it's the castle they restore. You cannot go in. Banks own it. But this villa with some land and some pool and some pond and lot of rooms is for sale. Is for sale, but it's expensive, right? So anyway,
You know, restoration must be easy with Pafa full of painters.
yeah, but it's a restoration of, you know, like the roof and this and that, and so that's gonna be. I mean, it's not just painting the wall. It really needs some work, right? But yeah, so just an idea, right? That's an idea. So we could have Pafa in the summer, like New York Philharmonica in the Berkshire, right? We do that. We move to Italy. All right. So let's learn to, when we look at a pose, right? Let's learn to find the landmarks, right? So the first landmark, so we're going to show our arm is seen slightly from behind, a little bit flexed. So I look at my pose and I see the arm, see the head of the humerus. I go first for the head of the humerus, right? Because that's easy to see, that's the shoulder. When I get down to the elbow, I want to see the condyles. I mean, these two bumps in here that we have. Let me turn off the faces because that way, okay. See if you can catch up now with that, right? Okay, so these two bumps in here, right? These two bumps in here, the bone that we have on this side here and the other side, they cannot line up. So what I want to do, I want to see where is that, without those two bumps, one maybe I see it, the other I don't see it, but I can line them up, right? I can line them up like this. And that helps me because if I see also the olecranon, the bump, I know where the ulna is. So now I'm blocking the ulna here, right? And now attached to the ulna, I have the hand, right? So the hand is here, right? And I block the hand dividing it in the two main volumes. So the back of the hand, the palm, and the main body of the hand, and then the fingers, right? So then if I do this, if I don't go after the outline, etc., I find immediately the proportional relationship, the angle, right, and the size, and all this stuff, right? Now, if the thumb is on this side here, now the thumb is on this side here, then I know that the radius ends up here. And the radius start always laterally. So if the back of my person is here, right, then it means that that is where the radius starts, because the radius is always outside. So that's going to be the radius, right? Makes sense? So what I'm finding is, I'm finding this as a landmark. At the elbow, I want to find, actually, let me mark them red, right? This is the elbow. At the head of the humerus, the shoulder. At the elbow, I want to find the lateral and medial epicondyle and the olecranon, and see how these are oriented, right? Because that's the elbow joint. When I get down to the wrist, I want to see what is the ulna and what is the radius. The ulna is this little bump in here, and that's easy to see. The radius is here, it's a little bit less visible because it's a bigger form, but it's always on the side of the thumb. So now at the wrist, I'm going to have these two. And now I see how this joint and this joint are oriented in relation to each other, right? So you start with that, you block in this form here, and you have an idea of the skeleton. Of course, this is not necessarily the way you will draw, but it's the way you try to understand your pose. You try to go deep and look inside to see what it is that you can extrapolate, if you can extrapolate the structure, the skeleton, right? So now we have here, now we introduce the external form, right? So I block in the external form and I look at the volume, right? The head of the humerus and the deltoid are gonna be here. This is the upper arm, and this is the joint here. This is the forearm. The forearm like that, right? And then that is the hand, right? Always looking at the proportional relationship. Now, this looks a little bit too long in relation to that. So let me check, right? Let me check. Let me see, 1, 2. No, actually it's okay. Maybe a little bit longer, right? But pretty good. The hand, more or less, even if it's flexed, it gives me an idea that I have the right proportion. So, so now I have a little bit more three-dimensional rendering, right? Now I want to go after the same landmark that I have in here. So here is the head of the humerus. At this point in here, I will have the olecranon. Maybe I start with the olecranon because it's the central point, and it's the bump in here, right? So from here now, on the side here, and here I have here the medial epicondyle, which most likely I'm not going to see when the drawing is finished. And on this side here, I have the lateral epicondyle, and they're going to be oriented like this. So this is the humerus, right? And this is the joint. Attached to this joint in here, where I can extrapolate by the two extremities, it is the olecranon. From here to here, because it's on the pinky side, I have the ulna, right? And then on the other side, because it's on the side of the thumb, is the radius. Now I have a good idea of what all these bumps are, right? And these are all the volume, etc. So now, you need to take a picture of this.
Yes, please.
So now, we want to skip it. No, let's build it gradually, right? So we do what we did before, right? But with all the form and volume. So now I have the volume of the upper arm, the volume of the forearm, always looking at those forms, right? The swelling in here, looking at the length of the various segment, looking at the angles between the various parts, right? And keep it light. I'm gonna reinforce it a little bit now. I want to just first to visualize it. And then now the shoulder here, right? And I want to make sure that I have the proportional relationship right. Maybe I bring this down a bit. Now I start thinking, okay, let me see. Here, right? Here, I would have the olecranon. And that's fine. That is the lateral epicondyle. This is the medial epicondyle or epitrochlear. And here is now the ulna, olecranon ulna, right? So now if the olecranon is, let's block in the deltoid so we visualize a little bit better the anatomy of this upper portion here. So the arm here is turned slightly 3/4. So I'm gonna see here, halfway down here, the deltoid, right? Coming up like this, the deltoid. And then, because this is rounded, because I'm thinking of this as a rounded volume, right? Because I draw a cylinder. The deltoid gonna wrap around this deltoid, this volume here, and then come forward like that. So I start thinking now a little bit more organically, right? What I see in the model. The bicep now is gonna be here, coming in like this, right? And then this is the division between bicep brachialis and tricep. So the tricep, if it is a head of the humerus, right? Remember, the long head is inside, you see it, and it goes to the scapula. But the lateral head starts from below the head of the humerus, so I can kind of figure out what happens in here, right? As this muscle emerges in here, right? Where and what angle, because I have an idea where it starts from, and I know it goes down to the tendon of the tricep, which I can block in here as a slightly curved, flat structure. And from here, I have the volume of the tricep, now like this, right? This chunky portion of the tricep, like this, right? And coming down on the side, I would have the lower part of the lateral head, and down here at the bottom, a little bit of the medial head, right? Visible here. So now I can block in here the long head of the tricep. The tricep goes toward the scapula, so I can block in the main volume here, right? But then the head of the origin will go toward the scapula. So this is the scapula, right? And it goes between teres major and teres minor. And you see the tendon going that way, right? Toward the scapula. So this is now the long head. This is the deltoid, right? And this is now the bicep. Now we are here with the messy part, right? But it's not so messy because I'm thinking, I have the olecranon, my friend olecranon. Now that's going to help me a lot, right? This portion here comes up. Maybe I see a little bit the medial epicondyle here like this, right? Maybe a little bit, not much, right? But I know that now from here to here, I have the ulna. So the ulna divides the extensor from the flexor, right? So where are the extensors? The extensors are going to be from this little bump, include this little bump and this bump, between the lateral epicondyle and the olecranon. So they start here. They start here, right? And where do they go? They go to the back of the hand in the middle. Thank you, God, for small favors, right? So these go down like this, and it will go right to the margin of the ulna here, but not up here, because that is where the anconeo is going to be. Down like this, and from here, it tapers, becomes tendinous. It's a long tendon, and the tendon from here go to the hand, 4 tendon to the hand, like that, right? So this is now the group of the extensor of the finger, of the pinky, and the carpus ulnaris. So here, I block in the anconeus, right? Another form here, right? And now on the other side of the ulna, this is the ulna, right? I have the flexor. And I can keep the flexor. When I want the flexor to disappear behind the ulna here, like this, right? Because they go to the back of the hand, right? The tendon. So this is not visible, right? Like this, right? And now, my favorite, our favorite moment, brachioradialis, ECRB, ECRL. What do they start? They start from the lateral, the lower, so brachioradialis, ECRL, ECRB. They start from the lower lateral third of humerus. They start from this portion in here, right, just above the lateral epicondyle. So from here, we have this upper portion is the brachioradialis, which is flat. So the brachioradialis at this point is flat, right? And when it gets a little bit lower, because this is in this lower segment, that's where the the ECRB, ECRL start. They pick up volume here. And where do they go? They go here and here. So now I have this volume here of ECRB, ECRL going over to the side of the arm, on the side of the thumb, right? Makes sense? So now we have kind of figured out, you know, extrapolated all this volume here, how they come together by reducing them to essential forms. So it's a different method. It's a different way of reading the body. Is more. It's not about the function. It's not about the flexor. It's about the extensor, you know, pronator. It's about what dominant group do I have here, right? 1, 2, 3. Who's forming that dominant group? Flexion, extensor, and pronator, fine. Let's lump them together. They see what kind of form they create. Then later I'm gonna think of what they are, but I'm reading it in a different language, using a different language, which is not functional. It's volumetric, it's 3-dimensional, right? So I can look at the body from different points of view, searching for different manifestation of the form of the body, depending on what I want to obtain. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, one more, and then I'll leave you alone with this of the turning. But if I think similarly, if I have an arm like this, right, flexed, And then the delta is gonna be here, right here. And then I have the hand. So this is the forearm. The hand is facing me, like this, right? So now I have my basic volume that is kind of starting with a circular section and end up with a flat section here like this, right? Then I'm thinking, all right, so what are my landmarks? What landmarks am I looking for? I'm looking for the extremities of the limbs, right? So I have here, maybe I see a landmark in here. I see the little bump, which is the lateral epicondyl. I see the ulna here, the olecranon here. So when I see the olecranon, now that's a winning hand because I know that the olecranon will go on the side of the pinky here. So now that's the ulna, right? The ulna goes like this. So if I block in the ulna, right, then I have here, on this side, the flexors. And on this side, the extensors. And over here, the brachioradialis goes to the thumb. So now I have all these groups locked in properly, just quickly, without having to go around and copy the line here and another line here, another line here, which I don't know what they are. If I don't know what they are, if I know what they are, I don't need to draw this, but I had to have in my head. I could block the hand here, seeing, okay, that bump in here is not a bump, it's the ulna, they have an ulna. As I do this muscle in here is going to be the muscle of the extensor that eventually widen up in here, and I have here the lateral, the bump, the end of the radius, the humerus, and here the olecranon, and there is soft parts in the middle. The curve of the ulna is going to be maybe not regular, not straight, but a little bit curved. And I want to see what kind of, I can't remember which way it goes. I think it goes this way. And now I see how this forming here is not going to so straight, but it's going to have a little bit more of a volume here like this, like that, right? And then I'm going to have a wrapping around the muscle. And my drawing, even if I haven't, and there is the tendinous portion, that's the hand, like the tenar and the hypotenar, right? So I have drawn the arm more organically without drawing that, but that was in my head, right? I had that in my head. So every line has a name and an address, and you can capture the torsion in a more precise and continuous way, right? So, as an exercise, if you want, you could take your own arm, turn it, get in front of a mirror, turn it, different position, and try to figure out, if my hands are like this, how are the bones of the forearm oriented in relation to each other? Are they crossed or are they parallel? Are they overlapping? Then bend your arm, turn it, like this, and maybe take pictures from different angles, etc., and try to figure out the skeleton. So you could have the picture, the photographs, and then you don't need to copy the photograph of the external form. Try to extrapolate the skeleton, identify the landmarks. Head of the humerus, joints, olecranon, ulna, radius, and draw a little stick like that. Hands, right? Hand, where is the hand, etc. And if you want, you can block in quickly the essential form, but maintain this level of essential representation of the form. Don't go too organic too soon because you want to practice reading it. Later you can do that, but if you have time, it's a very good exercise, right? A very good exercise because learn you to see inside the form and not copy, right? Can you take a picture of this? So hands. Where do you put the hands?
About the exercise, so to try to turn the hand and find the different landmarks, but do you want us to draw something as well?
Yeah, like this.
Okay,
Just like that, and basically draw the skeleton. Draw the skeleton. Once you have drawn the skeleton, maybe you block in the with another color, block in the volume over it like that. So draw the skeleton blue, let's say, and then block in the just the essential volume to then find a correspondence with the external form. But no more than that. No more than that. So you can do a bunch of these. You can also use photographs. So look, right? If I ask you to find out, try to find out the skeleton here, right? The skeleton in here, right? The skeleton here from this angle here. So you could take picture like this, and then try to find out what's happening with the skeleton. Is the muscle here? See what's happening here. Do you want to think? So this arm here is it in supination or is it in pronation? What is the soup, right? What do you think? Supination or pronation? Or something else?
I think the ulna is on the back behind the arm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's intermediate. Because the hand in supination, you would see the hand, the palm of the hand. The hand in pronation, you see the back. In here, it's in between the two, meaning in this case in here, let's see what happens in here, right? So this is, okay, let's quickly go over this possible exercise. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, I have head of the humerus, right? The humerus. Then I see the two epicondyles, right? Medial and lateral. Well, the lateral I don't see, it's behind the volume brachioradialis, but I know what it is, but I see this from the front, right? So here and here. Now, the ulna is going to be behind on the pinky side, right? So this start from the middle here, it goes down like this, and it's from the pinky side. The radius always start outside laterally, so therefore it's here, and then it goes over the pinky, so now it's like that. The two are overlapping at the joint, but not here, because they never overlap here, because they are fixed. One is to the middle, one to the outside, and I mean, they overlap, you see from the side, all right, but in this situation, they don't overlap, right? Here, but they do overlap here, right? So what happened with that, right? This is similar, meaning it's the same pose, but with the arm flexed. Okay, that's easy then, right? That's easy then. And so on. Or this, right? What's happening with this arm in here? That's pretty intriguing. So maybe you try to figure it out, right? You try to figure it out. And you just find the dots. 1, 2, that's on the other side, olecranon, radius ulna, done, right? Find the dots. So basically, this will help you to immediately find the landmarks, and also notice this, right? These are types, these are poses that were repeated, they were a canon, they were a language that were kind of signifying something. So, of course, the David is slightly different, right? The David is slightly different, but that was Michelangelo. But this is a type. This is a type of pose that is used in classical antiquity and then some. So anyway, this one, I don't know. This is Haja. This is a late classic, right? And it's 1 to 8, but that's another story, right? Okay, so so hens, right? Stuff. I'd like to go over a sequence how to copy the hands, how to draw the hands. Yes. Were you guys asking me about the divider or some other class? Was it this divider here? Were you asking me about it? Because you don't have to use that. This is the one that comes with the compass, right? The same thing, but smaller. So you could use this, is much cheaper. Because there's other student asked me the name and the site, where to find it, what's called. But these are a little bit more expensive. So anyway, okay, hands. Let's see, let's find an exercise for you. This could be one. Oh, this could be one. Interesting. So another exercise you might want to try, guys, is this now, right? Get your hands quickly blocked in different position without like those you've done so far, but just line drawing very quickly without really spending a lot of time in it. And then maybe once you have worked on these a little bit, maybe try to find different levels of visualization, right? So you see that some in here, there's more realistic hand, planes, kind of planes, squarish. This is closer to the cylinders, right? Volume, the cylinders and blocks. And this is more realistic, right? More realistic. So, but you see how in this case in here, with the various planes, we can find a little bit better the type of plane, light, medium, dark, darkest. See that? White, and then that helps you in figuring out the discovering the planes, help you in justifying or understanding the tonal development of the hand, of the form, right? Because it's like the planes of the head, a mannequin, the light is clearly subdivided because the planes are so very well defined. You can do the same thing, reduce your hand to planes of the head, or planes of the hand, right? It's a good exercise. So I would say, you know, I don't want to give you too many exercises, but you don't have to do them all at once. But definitely, I would do the exercises I told you before about the arm, because that helps you in understanding how to read not just the arm, but also the body in general. You go for the landmarks, right? And then you understand the form better. Then I would sketch hands quickly, gestural work like this without spending too much time, to practice drawing. Just to practice drawing. Try to get a hand in 10 minutes. You don't have to spend longer than that. Having just the minutes to do this will make you be more essential, right? And then maybe later you can either develop a few of these hands tonally like this, right? Or because these hands are still very essential, you could maybe superimpose on these hands the planes, right? And then render it tonally. But these two exercises here are good for you, right?
So I'm ordering the book, but I don't have these yet. Is there any way somebody can send me these? Is there any way for me getting a copy of these?
Sorry, sending you what?
I don't have these images.
Oh, this is the new book.
Okay.
I
So nobody has the images.
Take a picture. Take a picture. I mean, let me enlarge it, right? These are not in the.
Okay, so you just meant in generally do these kind of things.
In general,
Yeah.
you don't copy this. Copy your hand, but using this technique, right? In general, copy your hand. So these are just a few examples, right here and here. Just quick drawing your hands.
Okay, let me take a picture.
In front of you. Maybe use a mirror, right? In some cases, use a mirror, right? But these are all left hands except for this one that was on the mirror. Then it's going to be the right hand. But what I'm saying is quick gestural drawing, quick sketches, and then various levels of schematization of the hand, right? So more realistic,
So that.
cylindrical, and the cylindrical, you can do them. Start from the cylindrical, build up the cylinder, or start with the plane, build up the plane, or reduce them to cylinder and plane. If these are light enough, you could in here go over it. Let me show you. Once you have this drawing here, right? You do your drawing in the hand. You take a piece of tracing paper and then maybe a pencil, and then you start doing this, right? No, this is. Go over it and say, where is the joint here, right? Where is the joint here? That's here, and then this is the cylinder or some sort of conical thing, right? Makes sense? So you kind of reduce it to that, right? Because it's another operational synthesis that you have to do as you do this. You have to make decision, you have to make it. So that will make you look at the same subject in different way as you do this. You visualize it differently. And that's always important in art, to look at the subject from different points of view, many different points of view, because you discover other, characteristics or other things that are normally not visible.
Can I take a picture of the one where the volumes are more visible?
This one here?
No, the other one. The other one, that one. Hold on. See, I just wanted to say I started to do the exercises, but my own hands don't have that many landmarks.
Your hands don't have that many what?
Landmarks. These are.
Okay. But it's okay. That's fine. I mean, that's okay. I mean, and since really take your time. You don't have to do these exercises on time. Do them when you're ready, right? It's again, it's
But
not.
they're good to do now. But
I mean, yeah, I would love to see them, right? It will help you, but I know you have a life, you have things to do, and you don't have to do them.
I started from the beginning and I loaded them into the canvas today. But I started from the, like day one exercises.
So let me ask you something, guys. I can't remember what I wanted to ask you. It's been a long day, a long month, a long year. What to ask you? Oh well, I will.
Was this about the Canvas app?
No, it was something about exercises, but oh well. So it will come back. So I'll remember it. I'm looking for an exercise to do together with you right now. So of a complex pose, a little bit more of a complex pose. This was the measurement, right, of a hand. So, so we can do two. If we cannot do two, we do one, and then we do the other one next week, right? So it was, one was about measuring, and the other one was complex drawing, right? Complex drawing. Okay, so now, so let's check this out. So let's see. Oh. So a drawing of a hand. This is a hand. I did this drawing of a hand holding a rope, and we don't need to see it now. I have it there, but actually, let me get it. So we see the finished work, and then we see how to get there, right? So we've seen, I show you this work in here, right? And this work in here, with the hand holding a rope, I visualize it also as blocks like this, because it really helps to understand the sense of volume, the sense of overlapping of the four, right? And when I do this, I will start from the block of the back of the main body of the hand, right? The body of the hand, and then over it, I figure out how all these other forms are overlapping, connected, and turning, right? So, so that way it's easier. That's way it's much easier. Basically, I draw what I don't see, which is this, right? I draw that, so I see this measurement here, see this measurement here, extrapolate that, and then I see the back, imagine the back. So I draw this without seeing it. And then to that, I attach the volume. But what I'm doing is, because I draw volume, I think volumetrically. When I bend a finger, that finger will have to go over another volume or relate to the underlying volume or the volume is connected to. So another way of doing it is some sort of envelope method, right? So let's see what the difference between, this is structural, right? We see the envelope method, right? The envelope method, instead what it does, it flattens the form. So it projects all the measurements, of the subject that are positioned in different spatial planes. It projected all in one plane, all in one flat plane. So let's see. Let's start with this. Copying now the hand here, right? This hand in here. So what I do, I'm gonna use the this for convenience, right? But you can use the pencil because using the pencil is somehow easier, right? So now what I want to do, I could measure. Actually, let's start blocking in angles, right? Main angles, and then we see how they relate to each other. So I look at my hand and I say, you know what? This is a nice big angle. It's flat. I can see it. I'm gonna block that in, and before doing the line, I want to line up my pencil here next to the wrist, and at this point in here, this is the radius, and then visualize the triangle. See the triangle there? So now I have that angle, but it's supported by this triangle. So blocking in like this, right? And then I look at this triangle in here, and look at that triangle in there, and look at this angle here, and look at this angle here, and I say, okay, that's good. You know, it was a good guess. It's an informed guess. I measure it using different parameters, right? So then I decide how long my hand should be here and then here, right? And then I look at this line here, right? This line here. I want to see two things. How is this line related to this? And what is the angle, right? Because if I look at this, just barely off the horizontal line, just barely off, right? So what I could do, actually, no, wait, let me see, because now this is moving. Yeah, from here, just there, just the tip. So I could do a horizontal line here, and then find a slight variation. And now I had that angle there like that. But now I still have to know how long is that? Take this measurement, right, in your hand, and then, which of course you're gonna do this, right? For the model, you're gonna do this, and then at the distance, they're related with this. But now we use this for convenience. I look at this, and I look at this, and I say, oh, it's about 1.5, a little bit more than 1.5 to the bump of the radius. So let's assume the bump of the radius in here. I want from here to the bump of the radius 1.5 of these, a little bit more than 1.5. 1 is that's 2, so it's gonna be here. So that's the bump of the radius, right? That's the bump of the radius. And that's now the length of this finger in here. So now I can block in, let's say, this line in here. I could do two things, 1 and 2, right? Which could be a good thing, but I gotta find out where is this change of angle. And I see if I bring this over, look what it is, close to the bump of the radius. Lucky me, it's our lucky night, guys, here. So I block this in, and now I have this space in here, right, here, and halfway I have the peak. So that's the space, right? And halfway I have the peak. So now I have this and this, and where this comes in a little bit more. See that you bring this down, that is a little bit more. So if this goes out this much, this goes a little bit past that right here. And then from here, right, where this is a little bit higher, right, here, I have another space in here, which looks to me a lot like this is the same as this. I can eyeball that, right? I can eyeball that. I don't have to measure everything. So let's assume that this is here, right? So now I have this point in here, right? This point in here, I can eyeball it, starting from the base of this. And then now I have this line in here, right? This curve in here. So from here, I go, I have the wrist. How wide is this? Let's measure it. Compare it to an old measurement. It's a little bit less than that, right? It's a little, this measurement here, it's a little bit less than that. So fine, let's say it's here. Take this, put it here. I got it right. And now I have the envelope of the hand, right? Now I can block in more detail. So we've seen that the thumb is at the middle, but instead of the thumb, I'm thinking I might want to concentrate on this. But that's a big form, right? So starting from the continuation of the radius here, so that I go about halfway here, the length of the thumb, right? With a curve like this. And then I block in this, kind of coming up at the same level as the width of the radius here, of the ulna here. And then from here, at an angle here, come up with this line, leaving a little bit of space here, which is similar to that. Where is the base of the thumb? It's a little bit below the tip, the middle here, right? So that's the base of the thumb. And I have the thumb, and here, 1, 2, 3, right? So now I'm blocking in the outline of the hand gradually, right? And now I have here, up here, I can break this down more, right? Going down toward the joint, I have the knuckle. I have this forming here that maybe now is slightly too big, so I might want to reduce, because that's the thing, when you do the measurement, you might end up having to edit a little bit, because as you find new measurement, your precision will increase. You have new information, you edit, you change, right? See that how we get now into always the big forms, right? Always the big volume, big form coming together. I started with a big form overall, and then this next big form in here, and then this, and then this. And with this, I found 1, 2, 3, right? So this is another method that you can use for measuring, right? Which is the envelope, but here, right? Here, and this is the portion of fold. Okay, and then once this is done, if it's okay, right? If it's okay, then you clean it up a little bit, right? You clean it up, and then you end up with a line drawing, much more precise drawing. So basically, this would be the progression, right? 1, 2, and then you find more and more detail. And now this starts becoming structure, right? And then you have the three-dimensional aspect. Or the volume, as I showed you before, we start drawing. Is this clear, guys? Is it clear? I mean, I don't think I need to develop before. Let me clean it up a little bit, right? Let me clean it up a little bit.
So let me ask you this. Do you suggest that we do this envelope first so we understand, and then do we develop this envelope, or do we do another drawing now since we know?
So you keep developing the envelope. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm developing the envelope.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the envelope is the essential. The envelope is the essential measurement, and then you gradually find more and more and more.
Yeah. So until it becomes the final.
Yeah, until it becomes like, so basically what I've done now, right? So now then you clean it up, and then now you can go back and say, okay, this is now, you look at my hand, right? This is here, and then this is here. It might be easier to do the envelope if you take a picture and then you copy your picture, because it's easier to look at the 2D and look at the dimension, look at the forms, right? And you kind of learn how to relate them without the hand having to move, etc. And then later you move on to the real hand, right? But it might be easier when you practice understanding the envelope. If you start with the 2D image, but then move to the 3D, right? Move to 3D, because that's your final, aspiration, right? Draw from life, right? See that? So now I'm getting into these details, right? So Greg, so another thing I wanted to tell you that is about the mark, right? Mark making, and this is for everybody actually, but I'm looking at your drawing, Greg, I was thinking about this. When you, so the first hand that you did is really good. The second hand, the tone, the structure rendering is also coming together. You gotta refine it, but it's you want to refine it, says that maybe a couple of things are a little bit too long, etc. But there is also a question of the aesthetic quality of the mark making, right? When you do marks, your drawing, your drawing is made up of marks. So if the marks are beautiful, they contribute to that. If the marks are maybe kind of, jerky, then the drawing will be jerky. If the mark is sloppy, then the drawing will be sloppy. So you want to also understand the aesthetic characteristic of your mark and work on that. So one thing that helps a lot when you do mark is don't do this, right? Don't do kind of mark that are uncertain. You could do a drawing like this, but it has to be the result of an aesthetic research that is motivated by something. But sometimes, we kind of have this little hairy mark that we don't know really what to synthesize, and then we do a marking here, marking there. Oh, I don't know, I'm not sure about that. So slow down, and then think, look at your mark and say, how can I synthesize that mark, right? So, okay, it's gonna be just that, right, that. And then stop. And then you think around, okay, the next is gonna be here, and come down like that, and then stop, right? Meaning each mark has to be really the essential mark. imagine each mark costs you $10. So, you know, the fewer marks, the better it is, but because each mark then acquires great value, it's more value, right? So another thing is that when you start with a mark, even with the structure, try not to do, and this is for everybody, you know, just, I'm not singling you out, Greg, just for everybody, right? Think of the mark that could be like maybe start thin and move on thick, and then thin again, and then comes together with another mark like this, and then kind of thick and thin. So avoid for now doing mark like this, and then in this another mark like that kind of hard like that, right? Because they tend to be too graphic, right? Too graphic. So too rigid, and the result is going to be a rigid drawing. So I would try to find a quality in the mark that is, it looks good. And it's really, that's all I can say. You know, what does make something look good? Well, that's your problem, right? You want to figure it out, right? Figure it out. And you develop the sense of aesthetic even in the mark, but that's gonna be the result of practice, like practicing making marks, and then finding a mark that you say, oh, yes, it's jerky, right? Maybe it's jerky like that, but I like it because I want it to be like that. But if it's just tentative, it's gonna be different. I don't know what to say. If this is the result of the research, it will look good. But if it's not, it might be a little bit too chaotic. So I hope it was clear. You know, when we get into aesthetic, right, it's really in the end your personal problem, your personal research. So very little I can say except that it has to be the result of a search, a quest, a reasoning. When you make a mark, it has to be explained, and not necessarily rational terms, but it has to be explained in a certain way. But if the mark, it just comes out, you do not intend that mark, then you don't control that mark, and then become problematic, right?
So I have loaded 4 images after Greg's. So I think it's the week 3 or project 3. Are you going to be able to look at them?
Yeah, I always look at them whenever you post them. So actually, that's what I want to ask you. Did I answer everybody?
Mine is not answered.
Oh, when did you post it?
I think like noon.
Oh, okay, because I watched them this morning. So, okay, so I missed that. So I'm gonna watch it, but you can post the exercise from the first to second or third class whenever they are ready. You post them, and when I see them, I go over all the classes and I answer them. But sometimes I miss one because
I was late.
Huh?
Because I was late.
No. I mean that too, but sometimes I just I don't know. Sometimes you know, in some cases they got posted somewhere else in the place that was not discussion, and then I see later, right? So, but if you post them, even if it's late, that's fine. I can check them. I see them. But is this clear, guys? Is this approach clear with the envelope and or the structural, right? Because here we can measure it. We started with this, right? We started with this, and we ended up with a realistic hand. But we were focusing on essential information. We were saying for how big, how wide, you know, how big this is, what is the midpoint, and then gradually breaking it down, but always keeping an eye on the possible changes that might happen as you introduce more and more information. Then you can refine your work, right? So I don't want to give you too much work, so maybe you can do this at another time. But I just wanted to show you a method of measuring that you can apply to to when you draw the hands, meaning when you do exercise, you could also use this method in here or this method in here. It's really up to you, right? So just give you some extra, you know, possibilities in finding your way out of this trouble drawing a hand, because sometimes it looks like drawing a hand is a trouble, right? So what I want to say, any questions about this? You want to take a picture of this? I can show you the picture of the sequence if you want.
Yes, Roberto, when we're talking about the ratio of, you know, the progressively shortening ratios, you to measure the length of the hand, it's from the end of the ulna to the knuckles? I mean,
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, what they do is find the wrist, right? Find the wrist, find the part in here, and then, and pretty much there, right? Pretty much here. And then you check out the measurement from here to here, from here to here, and then a single segment. But remember that when you look at it from this side in here, right, you're gonna have, if you bend the hand like this, then it would be a good exercise to do this, because you're going to see now this measurement here, this measurement here, this and this. They're all gradually decreasing. See that? So it creates some sort of spiraling, right? So you have this, which is the hand as seen from the thumb side like this, right? And then you have the first phalanx, and then you have the second phalanx, and you have the third phalanx, and then you have then you can measure them, right? Or you can measure them as you draw them, right? And then you see how all this segment creates. If we had more phalanxes, probably would do this, right? It would be cool actually, but we don't have them, right? So, but yeah, there's decreasing length of the form from the joints, starting from the joints, because that's where one form ends and another one begins at the joint. So what is this? Well, you know, this is kind of, you know, not really visible, but you can approximate it pretty well. You put the pencil in here, if you do that, right? You see what it is, right? So measuring at the base, basically, of the, which is really not there, but it's close to the base of the tenar eminence and hypotenar eminence. So this line here would help you. This line here would help you find that. So, but when you do the hand is from seen from a point of view like that, you're not going to have that ratio because of the perspective. So this ratio here is valid only when you look at the hand from a position where you can see with clarity the actual dimension. Because when you have the hand in perspective like that, all the dimensions are going to be altered, but you can still measure it, right? Meaning, if my hand is now like this, right? My hand is now like this. What I could do, I can block this measurement here, right? And then compare. Instead of doing this, I can do this, right? I project this on the same plane here. And now I look at this. And now you see how many times this fits in here. 1, 2. That's nice. Here, right? So this is here because the moves, and now this is horizontal, right? And then how big is this, right? Meaning it's the same thing. Now I can look at this and I measure this, compare it with this, and I say, oh, lucky me, they're the same measurement. So take this, put it here, and what's the angle? Just a little bit down like that. Makes sense. And then from here I go down, this measurement here, and I find the wrist. But now this measurement here are not canonical because they are affected by perspective, because my hand is not like this, right? It's like that. But still, I can extrapolate the measurement by projecting. Imagine I have a piece of tracing paper here, and I have a ray, laser ray kind of coming to me, piercing a hole in the paper, So I don't see that the true measurement, but I see projected measurement. Make sense?
yeah.
Right. So and then you proceed equally as for the other measurement. You can eventually kind of block in the details, right? You break it down gradually more and more. If there's something that needs to be changed, you change it, and so on, right? So so basically, that the idea of the proportions is the method, but it's the method in a controlled environment. When you get into the mess of the real life, there's no control environment in this. You're gonna have variables that maybe you didn't think about it, but then you adapt the method to the situation, and then use the same method but measuring slightly different. But the concept is comparing a measurement with another measurement. The two have to be related. Once you have that, where you measure the proportional relationship from an anatomical plate, or if you measure them from the envelope, or if you measure them in structure, you measure them like I show you now, doesn't matter. You have to compare measurement with measurement with measurement with measurement. And that's all, because these measurements come together, they are coherent with each other, then you have harmony. Then you have the exactly same ratio that you have in the subject from the whichever point of view it might be, right? So yeah, so this is a very important aspect in measuring, right? You really have to, the way you read it, it's your interpretation, because I might pick different measurements. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you decide to do, how to approach it, and which measurement to start. Because you could start with this measurement. You could start with measurement here. I like this because it's easy, but then you could start from any measurement, provided that at the end, they're all coherent with each other proportionally, right? So that, you see, that opens up a whole new window in drawing, which is, oh, okay, so it's gonna be up to me, right? It's not up to the method, it's up to me. It's exactly what it is. The more complex you get, the more it's up to you, but you have to understand this proportional relationship. Right? So
let me ask you this. So because I got a little bit tired with my own hand because I thought it didn't have proper landmarks. So I took a book like Bame's book and I copied from there. Is that something you advise against now, or?
I would do that, because Bames is a great master. Bames is a fantastic artist, but the hands in Bames, I think, are already stylized.
They are. So, but
I want you to stylize it. I mean, you can copy it from Bames, because then if you copy from Bames, you understand how he stylized it, the method that he's using. That's always a good exercise. But eventually, you want to be the one to make this decision. How do I draw that? A cylinder or a cube or a or a cone or whatever? And then how do I bring it together? The next form, what is it? So Bames was really doing these choices and based on his reasoning, the measurement and form, the synthesis of the form. You have to do the same thing, starting from the organic, from the real thing, because that's when you really have to make a decision. How do I
have to use my own hand then? Yeah.
Or you can copy somebody else's hand. You could take pictures of or find images online, but if you find somebody patient enough to stay there like this, right, and you can copy this person's hands, that would be great, right? Nice friend, right? Take a kid and put them in front of a video game.
I don't have that.
Use the hand. No, they're gonna use the hand, so you're not gonna. Yeah, but so you could also take pictures of my hand like this, right? Eventually copy these on different poses. Try to figure them out, right? You want to take some picture of my hands as a reference? They're free. I'm not gonna charge you extra.
But you might not recognize them.
I'm sorry.
You might not recognize them after I draw them.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. It could be interesting to see an interpretation, right? Of hand like that, right? Here. So you don't always draw your hand, because after a while, you know, you kind of get tired of it, right? So you can take screenshots or whatnot, right? I'm modeling.
Another thing that might be useful to focus on is how shapes overlap as you turn with each knuckle. You know,
Yeah. That's a good idea. So this is it, right? So that's what I was saying. Either the envelope or the structural with this, right? So do you want to go over this?
yes,
Okay.
that was nice. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's go over this, right? Let's go over this. So now, this is more connected with the structure, because in this case in here, yes, I can still find the points of measurement, but my concern is not to project all these points on a flat space, on a flat plane. It is to understand the three-dimensional. So I think of this differently. I think of this as volume. So you guys are going to send me the poorhouse with all this paper. Okay. So let's see. So now I'm blocking. Let's look at this. I have always it's so what I'm doing when I do this, I'm blocking in the chunk, right? And I can draw it parallel here, but if I look at this, probably this is thinner and this is thicker here. So it's my choice. I could really do this as a wider here, right? And then thinner here. And then I'm thinking, okay, if the hand is like this, do I see the top here, the plane where the fingers go, or maybe I don't, because maybe the hand is like that, so I want to make choices. So in this case, I see a little bit, right? And then I now can extrapolate the width of the whole palm of the hand, and maybe the bottom, the base here, and then the wrist, right? So all these things in here are just choices that I just block it into the best of my, you know, estimation, and then I look at it, and then I see, okay, it could be okay, right? The angle is right, the volume is okay. Let's see what happens when we start blocking in volume here, and see, I have the same thing. I could look at this and look at this spacing here, see that? So I see that this here is very close to the end here. Assuming this is right in terms of proportion, right? Then I can block in this volume here. And then I want to see what is this up to, right? It's up to like close to the top here. So, okay, close to the top. So now it's going to be, well, it's going to be a little bit different than that because I changed the angle. But I want to block in this volume here overall, right? I'm thinking, where is now the knuckle? But before I draw the knuckle, I'm looking at this. If I draw the knuckle now, I might go over these. I don't want to go over these. I want to draw these first, and this will go over it, right? So draw the things that are you don't see, but they are going to be supporting other structures. So in this case, first this, and then over it that. But now with the fingers, I want to think, okay, let's draw the fingers, because then I'm going to have to put the thumb on top of them, right? So I'm looking at the same thing. I'm thinking, I look at this. Where is this knuckle at in relation to the rest? And I look at this knuckle here, and I see that is kind of, you know, I just can't eyeball the corner of this basement here. So it stops here, not quite to the maximum width, but it stops here close to it. And then I have another hand. Now, as I do this, I want to think, but these two are going to be overlapping, right? So let me block the R one first. So I draw the R one here, and that should be, I look at this, where is this in relation to the width, the whole width of the palm of the hand, right? And how is this in relation to that? Now, this maybe comes out of this maximum width. So I put this in here, and maybe I have an arrow coming down like this, and then pinky is behind, the pinky is behind that. So I'm gonna block in quickly the pinky coming down like this, right? And these are the segment of the finger. Now I block in maybe another finger here, actually here, right? The pinky, and I want to look at the pinky. What is the pinky in relation to that, right? And then where is now maybe this over the pinky, right? Now I'm drawing over the pinky, right? And where is this joint in relation to, right? Whenever I get to a point where I have to change angle, or a point that delimits the measurement, I want to relate that measurement to other measurements, right? So what is this? All right, I can see it's just kind of the base of the thumb, a little bit lower, right? Now, the thing is this. You have to, a certain point, it's going to be a leap of faith. Because the first measurement, they have to be as accurate as you can, but you also have to accept that they might not be as accurate as you can. And when you start adding this formula here, you assume that, because you're relying on the previous measurement, right? So you assume that the previous measurement was right, but sometimes they are not. So you gotta keep shifting. You gotta keep always an eye open to the possibility of change. So now, as you kind of look at the whole hand in here, you're thinking, oh no, this finger is too low here, because that is overall, I see now is too high. So maybe I should move this here now. And I revise all of those, right? So you revise all of those, but you have to do it in a sense. So you see, this is not here, it's here, right? It's here, and this is a little bit higher. But once you revise all of those, it's not going to take you a long time, because as you've seen, the previous mark was here, now it's here, and then the rest is exactly the same, but a little bit higher, and so on. So now that also going to be higher. It's here, right? It's here, and now that looks good, right? And now this maybe is out here, always relating it to the previous image. And I think, where's the tip? It's just past that tip, right? Okay, so that's how you do over. And then now you put in the thumb. You think, okay, the thumb is over here, about to touch the index, but not quite. And all of this is going to be pushed back. And eventually you can have the, you can have also the shadow pattern helping you out, because now you have, as you block in the light mesh and shadow mesh, you have a pattern. See this pattern here? Then you look at the pattern in the hand that you got copied. It's the same pattern, meaning a pattern that reveals space. See that real space. How much space do I have here? How much space? And that is going to help you. It's going to help you to see if you have done a good job. Because maybe the pattern is just, oh, you know what? This is too wide. Maybe the pattern should be more like this, right? And most likely you don't have to change a lot, but this point is just a question of refining the form. So it's really a very alchemical thing, right? It's kind of, you have a few clues, right? And that's the best you have. You're gonna use them at the best. But as you proceed, you perfect it. You add information, you refine, revise, review all the previous information at the light of the new data that you have, right? And then you got your hand, right? So was it clear? Was it?
Yeah, that was great.
Right. So, and then of course from here, what you could do, take off this, right? Take off this was study, or you move to another, but from here, you could clean it up, right? You could clean it up and then superimpose another level of schematization over here, or the finished drawing, right? Use the black pencil. So here, now I have studied the structure of this, right? Really studied the structure of this, right? And then now I'm looking after, I'm going after these forming here, right? So now I'm looking, because what you've done, this here is the structural, this essential structural aspect. And yeah, it's not realistic, but the measurement are right, because you limited your mark to the representation of essential element of the hand, meaning how long, how wide, and what's the angle. And that's it. Now, if this works, you can now invest. Where are my glasses here? I was wondering why you can't see what I do. Okay. So now here I think, okay, my hand now is going over here and say, I look at this and I look at my hand and say, okay, that's the line, but the real thing is a little bit lower here than that, right? And now here it comes up and it turns a little bit past that. And then here I'm gonna have not straight, but I'm gonna have this, but it's gonna be pretty much along this directive, right? And here comes out like this kind of swells up here and then flattens and moves in. And here now I have it's not so sharp in here. It's going to be more like I have the wrinkles in here. That's the base of the finger, right? This is the skin wrinkles. This is not straight, of course, but now I edit it and I keep editing. But now I'm introduce another. I mean, I'm making it up, so I don't really know if it's coming out right. But you're editing the previous one, but also adding information. So this guides your hand. This scaffolding guides your hand, and your line is going to be much more informed because you're not copying the hand just like that, right, out of the blue, right? You're basing this marking here now is going to be really supported, helped by all of this foundation. This is the famous foundation that Alberti was describing when he was saying the artist should start drawing the bodies from the skeleton and then adding the muscle and then adding the fat and then the skin and then the clothes. And pretty much like an architect will start with foundation and then over it, he can, over good foundation, you can now create a good building. If the building is not built on sound foundation, the whole building will collapse. Same for drawing. If we don't have good foundations, the whole building will collapse, right? So I'm looking at this now, I'm thinking, this is too long, but maybe it's because this wrinkle here should not be there, should be here, right here. And this is more the palm, this is this chunky part of the hand. And now I kind of make it a little bit darker here, but rounded. And maybe this moves in a little bit, but meaning I keep adapting it, right? I keep changing it, right? So, so that's another level of schematization. Now, you can do this also from imagination, meaning imagine your hand. Start maybe with very, very basic form, right? So one, right? And then this, like we've seen in the beginning, right? But now you kind of go over the volume a little bit more, thinking in terms of who's overlapping what, right? Who's overlapping what? This is another form, another cylinder here, another cylinder here, another cylinder here. But then you have the proportional relationship that are going to be respected, right? So meaning this is going to be bigger than that, right? So that's the palm of the hand, that's the base of the thumb, of the middle finger, and the finger has to be shorter, and that looks good. So I'm happy. And now I'm going to have maybe another hand like this, the finger coming out like this, and maybe these hands are going to go that way, right? So same thing, cylinders, right? Cylinders. And then cylinders. But you'll see how eventually, after you have done this quite a few times, right? Eventually, you will stop drawing the cylinders because, but that again, see how this kind of gives you the sense of three-dimensionality, right? So, but eventually you stop drawing the cylinder because in the back of your head, when you draw a finger, right? With your finger, you have this, you can go already with the organic form, and you think, okay, that's the joint, right? And that's the other segment. And here I have the fold. Instead of drawing as a cylinder, I draw it as a fold, right? And that's where it ends. So you don't need to draw the whole thing. This is in your head, but you're already drawing the organic form. But it's an informal because all of this structural aspect is in your head. You get to the point where you see the proportions of the hand, because as you look at it, you are already scanning the subject for structural information, and you can already at that point already draw organically, because your mark is going to be supported by that information. It's not going to be an imitation line anymore. It's going to be already, even if it looks exactly organic, it's the result of an analysis, right? So all these exercises in here that I showed you help you in doing that, in reading the form, reading the body, right? So this reading the body was, I wanted it to be the title of my book. They didn't want me to do just that. So I had to complain with somebody and complain about it with you. But reading the body is a very important concept. We have to think of the body as a book. And we have to understand, like Galileo was said about the universe, right? The universe is an open book. You can read it with mathematics. We can read the body equally if you understand its language, you know, and the language of the body is also mathematics, but it's also the structural aspect, the landmarks, the joints, all the structural aspect that tell us about the proportions. And your line will become an informed line. Your goal is to create an informed line. So this is an exercise that you might want to do. Take your hand, and then instead of on the picture of my hand, and instead of drawing it realistically, reduce it to volume like that. And then other exercises, instead of drawing as volume, do the envelope, right? Do the envelope. How do you do the envelope? That's going to be your decision. But dominant volumes, right? The very few big measurements, you don't want too many measurements. You want those that represent the maximum width and maximum height, with 4 or 5 lines, maximum 4 or 5 lines to surround the form, right? So, so all these homeworks, they're not necessarily due for next week, but they're all things that you want to use in the practice of doing a better drawing for homework between now and the end of the course, right? So speaking of which, we meet how many more times? 1 or 2?
2 more times.
Just 1? All right. Okay. Two. Okay. All right. Good. So then we can cover also. We're going to go over the legs, and maybe eventually we can draw. We want to go over maybe example of drawing structurally, right? The hands like that, and then drawing tonally. So maybe the last class we do about drawing structurally and tonally, and the difference. So maybe we take example, drawing cup in the hand, and then next week I will do the legs and feet movement. Yeah. So guys, any question about what we did today, about assignments, etc.?
This isn't a question about what we did today, but do you also in your book, your forthcoming book, or do you analyze the head with?
Oh yeah, facial expression. Yeah, I got the head and facial expression. Yeah.
Great.
There is also a whole chapter on facial expressions and and head and detail of like mouth and ears and eyes, etc. So it's I go into that too. Yeah. The hands is more, you know, I have all these exercises on the hand, like this one here, this one here. I have a bunch of exercises. The envelope in here. This is another example of envelope. See that? The hand like that. Blocking 1, 2, 3, 4. Then find more and more landmarks. And then more and more landmarks. And then you do that. And then you carve. See how you carve it gradually. See that? And more organically, right? So that's another exercise you find in the book. Or how to analyze complex forms, right? So, for example, this, and I can't find this finished one, but I had it somewhere. I look at the hand, I can start it as blocks of form like that, and I end up with a line drawing, then I start rendering totally. But before I do this, when I look at my hand like that, I might want to find some ways of synthesizing that, right? And that could be maybe this, right? The rhythm between the various fingers, right? So see that kind of, because that rhythm is aesthetic, is an aesthetic aspect, an aesthetic approach. So, I mean, you're not gonna use this to copy it, but it helps you in understanding those fingers, how they come around, how they come together, right? Or hands like this, like this is Uncle Sam, but he said, I want you, says, I want your money, right? And or this, right? This is another one, right? With hands like this, with a kind of. So I have all these. Well, this is another way of reading it. All these poses that are complex, etc. And I show you how to approach them. So, yeah.
What is that reddish color that you use in these in these drawings?
So these.
Is that a pencil or is it?
Faber-Castell. This is a German manufacturer. It's my favorite pencil, really good. Faber-Castell Polychromos. These I like these because they are very.
What is
hot.
it? I know Faber-Castell, but what is it? What did you say? Is it Neo? Did you say Neo?
No, Prismacolor.
Oh, Prismacolor. Okay.
Yeah. No, sorry. Polychromos. Let me see if I can show you.
So they are color pencils, basically.
They're color pencil. Yeah, they're color pencil. Yeah. Because let me see polychromos. You see, it's all shiny. But it's polychromos.
I wrote it down. Thanks.
And these are. But I use the non-water soluble because the water soluble that are these same maker, they're square. So get the round one, unless you want to use the watercolor one that are a little bit softer, and I don't like them because they're a little bit softer. Or I also use these. These are this little lead here inside that is red, and it's a Japanese maker. I can't remember what it's called. I think I'll find it for you, but they are these Pilot? No, I can't remember.
Is it Uni?
No.
Those are Pentel.
I can't remember.
Graph Gear Pentel.
Pentel, okay, Pentel. And it could be, yeah, Pentel. And they had this lead that are red or blue. And you could also use the regular graphite, but they sell these colored red and blue leads. And they have a very regular mark, right? But it is not as chromatically as powerful as the polychromos. But the advantage of this is that it's almost like drawing with a ballpoint pen, but it's not a ballpoint pen. It's color. So it has a very nice even mark. And you can maybe modulate a little bit more. But as all of the mechanical pencil, it's going to have some drawback. The mark making is going to be fairly limited to just this line. With the color pencil, you can do much more complete rendering, right? Much more complete rendering. So I have to remember also to show you our hands I did for the other book. I'm gonna show them next week because they are in the other room. How to draw the hand structurally with these colors in here, right? These are my favorite because if you can use Conti, or you can use like Conti in pencil, but they make a mess. And I like a mark that is clear and clean. Conti, I use it for bigger work, standing up, but you're gonna make a dust. And when I do these kind of demos, it's more clear if I use sharp pencil like this. But also, that's how I work. I work with this pencil when I do drawings, right? So but it's my personal choice. So The other one is Carandas. You can also get Carandas. Is the other excellent, very, very good pencil. Carandas is a Swiss, and the Carandas make this type. This is super color or luminance, right? Luminance is this, always Carandas. This is beautiful colors, permanent colors, but they're a little bit soft, and they're like $4 each, each pencil. So, you know, depends how much money you want to spend. So this is what I use. This is what I use. All right, guys. So good, good. So I go see if my pizza's not burnt. Doesn't smell like it. So, but you know. And you okay with the homework? You got it?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll see you next week then, right?
All right.
Okay.
See you next
Have a
week.
good week.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.